Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ranger Kerry Lewis, and on behalf of the New Orleans Jazz National Historical Park, it is my pleasure to welcome you to the New Orleans Jazz Museum. National Park Service's mission is to protect, preserve, promote further appreciation, as well as try to cultivate a further education for our nation's natural, cultural, and historical resources. With that being said, today's programming, we're going to celebrate one of our cultural resources, our music, especially being here in the great city of New Orleans. Today's program is going to be of a very interactive nature between our interviewer and our featured artist. Without any further ado, we're going to bring on Mr. Nick Spitzer and Mr. Davell Crawford, and this is American Roots. Mr. Nick Spitzer.
Come on, Davell. Give him a round now. Davell, we're looking. These people look so good out here today. Look at that. Wow. So I hope some of you know American Roots wherever you may live around the country and listen occasionally. And we know we call the show American Roots Live, and so we record interviews with our heroes and heroines, and we end up with programs that are out on the radio, and so this should air sometime later this year. But Davell and I have been talking about doing this show. How long, Davell? About 5 years?
Yeah, if not a little longer.
Or maybe back since Katrina. Everything takes a while around here to plan sometimes, you know.
Yeah, that's true.
You see one another, and then they're out of town. This is the way it goes. You know, I could say a lot about Davell, or I could say a little, but we're going to talk about his life. But I think many of you know that he's somebody who's really a genius in music. I mean, he plays jazz, rhythm and blues, funk, soul, gospel, hip hop. Hip hop.
Yeah, I've done that.
A little classical here and there.
Yeah.
I mean, and so he is in that grand tradition of New Orleans piano professors who are able to do all kinds of music and styles and mix them and enchant you. And then we'll talk a little about that. We'll also talk about some of the great players. You know, obviously Long Hair and Jelly Roll a little bit, and Booker, and more recently Alan Toussaint and others. So we want to get into all that as well, and we'll just sort of see where it goes, and then we'll post-produce the whole thing later, and it'll sound like a radio show.
There we go.
Is that a plan? You all right with that? Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, make him welcome Davell Crawford. Davell Crawford. The man comes out swinging. And that was a song for James.
Yeah, song for James. Yeah.
James Booker.
James Booker, yeah.
Yeah, tell him about James Booker. I mean, you met and knew James Booker.
No, I did not. No, I did not.
Just knew his legacy.
I knew nothing of James Booker. You know how I found out about James Booker? I started playing at Snug Harbor when I was about 14, 15 years old. And George, one of the owners, for my 17th birthday, gave me a stack, that was my birthday present, of James Booker CDs. I'd never heard James Booker, didn't grow up listening to James Booker. Actually, I didn't really grow up listening to New Orleans music. That's a whole nother thing, right? But he said, I have something for you. And he gifted me some CDs. And I refused, here's the thing, I refused to open them. Yeah, and you know, Hurricane Katrina, this is it's sad and it's a horrible story for a person like me, you know. I just refused to open them because people referred me to James Booker my entire life. And people referred me to even Stevie Wonder and people in, Hathaway, Donny Hathaway. Why can I think of that? And just, you know, so growing up, I think we have a tendency to run from that which sort of reminds other people of themselves. So I did
maybe their younger days too, or they want the next generation. They want to see somebody follow it. Or
every
like
15 years, a person is reborn. The gift of that person. You know, so it was about the time when I came along and started playing that there was another James Booker somewhere around New Orleans, you know. If you look at it that way, give or take a few years, that's usually how it happens, I've been told.
Yeah, the tradition continues. People take it and do different things with it.
Right.
But there still is very much a New Orleans sound in Booker that we hear that you know so well, all those roles.
Well, you know what I thought? I thought that, and I still think this way, you know, our upbringing was much the same. We started listening and hearing music first in the church. I did Catholic church and the Baptist church and other Protestant religions. And we studied, like I say, classical. We heard R&B, you know. Country music was a big deal when I was a kid. You know, you have to remember that it was pop country music, but people like Crystal Gayle and Kenny Rogers and you know, Dolly Parton, they were on the charts in the 70s. I was born in 1975, and that's who our stars were. Lionel Richie was dibbling and dabbling in that kind of stuff. So that's what I heard on a day-to-day basis. And so I think James Booker, for him, the pop music during his time, it was the same thing. So he just knew how to infuse all of that. It's very easy for a person like me, and it was very easy, I'm quite sure, for a person like him. He just married it all together.
I want to ask you, I've heard stories that one of your first public performances is probably about 5 or 6 blocks from here, playing piano out by Cafe Du Monde.
Exactly.
7 years old, 8 years old?
I was 7, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Who got the piano out there for
Well,
you?
so really, this guy may still be out there, right? I thank him all the time.
Guys
I'm
offering
serious.
chess games now?
No, that guy's been there forever, right? You know, he might have got a cut on my first gig, the chess guy. What happened? So this guy would wheel around this piano. And it would be on big piano wheels and like a plank. And he had a telescope. So if you've been down to Cafe Du Monde, you've seen the guy with the telescope, right? I thought it was his son. It's him. It's the same guy after all these years. Anyway, you know, he would tell people, hey, you could see Mars if you give me, you know, $3 or something like that, or Jupiter, you know. It's New Orleans, you know. So people would line up. And on Mondays, my grandmother would go down there with her girlfriends. You know, they were beauticians. So the beauty shop would be closed on Mondays. And that was the thing. Come to Cafe Du Monde and bring me. So I'd leave them and step away and ask the guy, hey, mister, can I play your piano? He'd say, no. I mean, no. Just the meanest no. I'm like, you know, you have to be so mean, so ugly to me. But so every week I'd ask him, and he'd say no. Well, one week I walked up. And after he told me no, his little telescope business got busy. and I walked over to the right a little bit, to the left a little bit, and just jumped on the piano. I knew I could play, come on. I mean, you know. And so I started playing, and people came from all around, and he looked over at me, and he gave me the little A-OK sign. It picked up his little telescope business,
right,
and now I was his sidekick, you know?
Yeah.
He needed a gimmick, so he had his little kid, you know?
Come listen to Davell Crawford and see Mars.
Right. There you go.
Yeah. Hey, listen, we got, the clock is ticking. We need to hear a little more from you.
I've got to play the piano?
Yeah.
Do I really? Okay.
Yeah. And
Don't
then we'll
they
look
have
at
the
through the
records?
telescope. So what would you like to go to? I mean, maybe something that you think of from your youth that, we're going to get to the organ a little later with the gospel sound, but what do you got in mind that would work for you?
I don't know. I'm just going to play something.
There you go. Maybe name it before you start.
I don't know. That's what has to happen.
Okay, we'll back announce it.
Yeah. Morning star, you're shining bright this morning. I sit and wonder, where have my lover gone? Then I know you master of the sky. You can help me here. Tell me, have my love gone by? As night passes by, my heart wants to cry. My lover's gone from me. More mornings are there as daylight comes here. Tell me, where can she be? I've been here since 9 and now it's 4. Tell me, where did she go? Is she far, oh morning star? Yeah.
Morning Star.
Yeah. That was from my youth, I guess.
Yeah. Well, so much of your youth was church music. Maybe you could say a little about, you said Catholic Church and Protestant as well.
Oh, yeah. Well, that song really was written by my grandfather. And so I would go to, on the weekends, I would go to my grandfather's home and spend time with his mother, really. And they were Baptists, so they'd take me to the Baptist church, Fellowship Missionary Baptist Church. Oh, my God. And the music department there, jeez. I can still hear the sounds of everything. It was just phenomenal. And I was a little kid, you know. I soaked up everything. I would watch the organ player play the organ and look at the feet. You know, the organ set up kind of like here, it's a little higher than this stage. So I could see everything. I'd stand on the benches, and as she would play the organ with one hand and direct the choir with the other. And I would be in the benches doing the same thing, directing the choir, you know, and making all the moves. I see little kids do that now, and it just warms my heart. So, you know, being like a sponge, I soaked all of that up. And then I went to the Catholic Church here. We were members of St. Peter Claver, who had and still has a great music department, and I played there. I started playing there when I was about 8 or 9 years old. So I accompanied the choir, and yeah, I soaked all of that up, even though it was gospel. Then we'd go to Lafayette. There was gospel choir there at Immaculate Heart, our home church there for my family. St. Genevieve had a pipe organ. So the whole thing, you know, Immaculate Conception here, across from the Fairmont, had a pipe organ. So I was enthralled by just the music, and I knew that I could play all of these instruments, just give me the opportunity. So as a kid, I'd find a pipe organ someplace and just jump on it. Actually, at school, my elementary school, I didn't enjoy recess like the rest of the kids. Their priest would open up the church for me, and I would go and play the pipe organ. Yeah.
That's such a great life.
They didn't tell me no. I'm so good. Never tell. When a kid's like that, people give them the opportunity. They can't break it.
Yeah.
Don't tell them no. Let them bang on the piano. What's going to do to the piano? Nothing. Let them bang. Let them hit the drums. Get you some. Just stop up your ears. Let them do it. Yeah.
You
Don't
mentioned
tell them
that
no.
your grandmother was out there, and she's still running a beauty shop.
Yeah, well, she's not running. She's retired now, but she's out in Lafayette now.
Oh,
her beauty shop was on Broad Street, and it was, oh my God, for women in hair, and it was almost a sanctuary for them, for black women, and a lot of entertainers would come.
A retreat.
I'm sorry?
A place to be together, a retreat.
Of course, like most beauty
life.
shops and barber shops are. But she also did a lot of the entertainers that came to town, and I grew up watching that and looking at that and being a part of that world. And it was also a place for all of my friends who were musicians, young musicians, younger than me and some others like Charmaine, to just stop in, get some inspiration. I kept a keyboard in there, a Yamaha Clavinova in there. Sometimes we'd have drums in there. Sometimes I'd have a Hammond in there, and my friends from school would stop over.
Live music in the beauty salon.
And live music in the beauty salon. If we wasn't playing rock and roll, we were playing Save Your Soul church music. You know, you get your hair done and you leave out feeling revived, you know.
Maybe you should do you have a beauty salon song or something at least that your grandmother would like to hear from you?
Oh, I do have something my grandmother would like to hear from me if I remember it. It's one of her favorite songs, a song I wrote. And I don't know what it's on. You guys have to find it. I think it's Don't Ever Be Blue, if I can remember the words. It's like a country song. Like the cool winds of March and the waters that flow from the fall. Like the cold winter's night and the stars that light up the sky. It's an old country morning when Grandma is moaning her song. It's the prettiest color of all, but it lives in my home. So don't ever be blue. Don't ever be blue. There's a rainbow of colors waiting right there before you. Just keep going on and keep singing your song and doing the best you can do. So don't ever be blue. An abbreviated version, yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Well, I know you're a big Ray Charles fan.
Yeah,
And of course, he
Who
recorded those country records.
Yes.
And the record company said, you'll ruin your career.
That's what they told me. I told them I have none. I don't tour anymore. Come on, let me do what I
but
want.
for Ray sold many, many more records and
Yes.
attracted even more people.
Yes.
And then the country guys he covered tried to jazz and blues up their old hits to keep up with him.
Right,
But
right.
so you heard that country stuff. That's it's amazing though. It feels like country and gospel.
Yeah, well, people forget, first of all, that my roots are not in, well, I'm an implant. My family's an implant in New Orleans, but my roots are in country. You know, I'm from Lafayette, Youngsville, St. Martinville, all of those places there.
French-speaking Louisiana over there, yeah.
Exactly.
Creoles, Cajuns,
Exactly.
the Zydeco music.
Man, yeah, chez me, that's how
Oh,
they,
tu
that's
parles
my
un petit
people
peu
down there,
français.
chez.
Oh,
Man, of
ça.
course. Comment ça va, you? Ça va bien, chez.
Yeah, okay, on va en français, radio public. Well, but I read something about you that intrigued me. I mean, and we all get our music from different times and places, but that you listened to Ray's version of "Let It Be."
Oh yeah, well yeah.
You
like
didn't
I
hear
said,
that. You weren't listening to the Beatles, but you listened.
I
to
had
Ray.
never heard of the Beatles. You know, Paul's going to get mad at me if he hears this, but I had never heard of the Beatles. I mean, come on now. Like I say, in the 70s, Ray Charles he had released all of these country things,
Right.
and he had this album, I believe, True to Life. I can hum every note, every little bell on that album. And I believe Let It Be was on that album. And I would listen to Ray Charles and almost cry, you know.
Yeah.
I think I was, it wasn't the piano playing for me. It never was, I never listened to any piano players. Well, except Hurwitz, yeah. But for Ray Charles, I was just a kid, and it was his personality. He would move.
Right.
He had these shades on, so cool, you
Yeah.
know, and man, he could rap, he could talk.
Yeah, he
You
loved
know,
the world, and the world loved him.
The world loved him. He was friends of my grandfather and just the whole my family. And so, yeah, anything he did, I soaked up. But it was the same for Liberace. Anything he did, you probably can tell.
Now, that's
I mean,
kind
I got
of
on
a
the
leap,
jacket. I mean, you know,
Liberace.
anything Liberace did, he was on television. People have to realize that, you know, don't be so surprised by my influences. Dolly Parton was on television. I mean, Barbara Mandrell was on television.
Right.
These are the Mandrell sisters, people that I grew up. These were
Great
not
entertainers.
celebrities. These
Yeah.
were actually superstars
Right,
of the
Sure,
day.
sure.
Luther Vandross, all of that. And so New Orleans sort of came later because I started making money. After I played my first New Orleans gig, I said, "Oh, hell, this is how it goes," you know. And I started, you know, I became really smart. I couldn't say, "Let me hold you tight, if only for one night." I couldn't do that at Snug Harbor. You guys wouldn't be sitting here right now. Yeah.
Well, do you still do Let It Be? Is that something you could take a shot at?
I could try to take a shot at it. Let's see.
Let's make sure they're okay with it. Y'all okay with it? The Ray Charles version.
Oh, the Ray Charles version? Oh, God, I don't know about that. Down and broken hearted. Okay. The Ray Charles version. Down and broken hearted, Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom. Let it be. And though they may be parted, there is still a light that shines down on me. Shine until tomorrow. Let it be. Let it be. Let it be, oh Lord. Let it be. Speaking words of wisdom. Let it be. Let it be. Let it be. Let it be, Lord. Let it be. There will be an answer. Let it be. Now, I don't know about the Ray Charles version, but I had to. You just struck that on there. I had to. You know.
Well, that's clearly the Davell Crawford version.
Well, I guess so. They seem to like it. I mean,
Yeah, no, I'm not hearing any complaints.
you gotta let me know
Yeah.
these days, you know. Yeah.
Hey, we did ask, was it possible to get a little cup of coffee? I don't know if that message got out there. If we do,
That sure would work for me.
yeah, I'll just leave it at that for now. So let's come back to other sounds in New Orleans. You say you learned New Orleans music sort of later.
Yeah.
So did the family actually move to New Orleans then?
Well, before I was born. Well, my mother's side, which I grew up mostly with, came to New Orleans. My grandmother came from Lafayette as a young woman and started her business here. And my mother was fairly young when I was born, fairly young, 16 to be exact. And so my grandmother took me and raised me. I had a caretaker. Her name was Pearl Houston. We called her Auntie Pearl. In our world, Auntie Pearl. And she also exposed me. I was with her almost 24/7. She exposed me to a lot. So yeah, and she was from Houston. So a lot of my upbringing was we went back to Lafayette. I traveled with Auntie Pearl to Houston. So I'm sort of an implant. Sugar Boy, my grandfather.
Sugar Boy Crawford.
Sugar Boy Crawford, exactly. Right. He and my grandmother were divorced by the time I was born. And she would send me over to him and his mother. He was from here, a few generations from here. And so I spent time mostly with his mother, though, at that age.
Yeah.
And we went to church.
Right. Well, I know people always ask you about your relationship to your grandfather. It sounds to me like your grandmother really did the caretaking for you.
Yeah, I wouldn't be here today if it was not for my grandmother, period. There's nothing else to say.
What would she like to hear from you, do you think? What kind of music was she interested in?
Well, you know, she enjoyed everything. She came to just about every gig that there was in the city, and she traveled with me for a little while when I was young. But many of you remember my grandmother. I'm looking at Diane in the audience and Marianne and some more people. She came, even if I was not playing, if she was at Donna's, she came to Donna's on Monday nights to hear Bob French and the rest of the guys.
Over on Rampart Street.
Yes,
yeah,
went to Snug Harbor on Monday nights. And you know, she was a big supporter of the music and the arts. She gave to NOCA even after I left NOCA. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, on your grandfather's side, do you do any of his songs?
Yeah. Well, I just did Morning Star.
That's right. You did mention that.
Yeah.
How about in the R&B side of things? We touched on the sacred side. Honestly, I didn't realize he'd written that.
Now watch this. That's a song that he wrote actually for my grandmother.
Oh, there you go.
Right, and it talks about a love that's gone, and you know, where can she be if she fall morning star? But there's a spiritual side to that song too. We used to talk about that. So let's see. I can do some of his things. Let me see. He did so many things. I wanna dance with you in the middle of the night. I wanna dance with you while you hold me tight. I wanna dance with you in the middle of the night. I wanna dance while the music goes around and around. Dance while the music goes around. I wanna love with you in the middle of the night. I wanna love with you while you hold me tight. I wanna love with you in the middle of the night. I wanna love while the music goes around and around. Love while the music goes around. Sweet little words that the melody told. I wanna love that girl before I grow too old. We'll get married and settle down, way out in a little country town. I wanna kiss with you in the middle of the night. I wanna kiss with you while you hold me tight. Kiss with you in the middle of the night. I wanna dance while the music goes around and round. Dance while the music goes around and round. Dance while the music goes around.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, why did that pop in my head? I don't know. There's so many others.
Yeah. Do you know why they called him Sugar Boy?
Well,
I mean, it could have been a lot of reasons, I suppose.
I mean, I've heard everything I've heard stories from James Brown, from Little Richard told me some stories. And, but, you know, his mom and grandmother called him Sugar Boy, or Sugar, Little Sugar. So I guess that kind of hung. I don't know what to believe. I didn't ask, and you know.
Yeah, sure. Well, did you grow up with a nickname? So many people in New Orleans and the region have nicknames.
I have several, and we're going to move on to the next question.
Well, I have a
I've been doing this a while too, Nick. Now,
Well, you just heard my nickname. I mean, this is American Roots. We're here with Davell Crawford at the Jazz Museum in New Orleans at the Old Mint. Such a pleasure to be here with
I'm having
everybody.
a ball. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so happy to be home. I caught a flight to be here. This is a good thing. Yeah.
So I was intrigued by, well, a lot of things you've done over the years, but you made a record tributing Fats Domino.
Oh yeah.
So
of course.
did you hear him much yourself? I mean, Fats didn't
Actually
pass away too long
no.
ago. No.
No, but I knew
mean, the
him-
records are out there.
I knew him better than most. I was very close to Fats Domino, but by the time I started playing, Fats was he was sort of retired, semi-retired.
Right.
He'd come out every now and then, but I spent lots of time with him at his home. We would get in the car and ride around New Orleans, right around Old Metairie, just, we
He'd love to cruise.
Oh, he'd love to cruise. We'd go eat meatball sandwiches at he loved the Italian restaurants and stuff like that. So
And of course, everybody knew Fats.
everyone knew Fats Domino. Give a hand for Fats Domino. Huh? And the man could cook. Oh my God, he could cook. Oh, geez.
Hogshead cheese.
His hog head cheese,
Wow, you cooked me some.
and crawfish in the bisque.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and then this is the last one. That doggone pound cake, with the fruit cake, that's what it's called.
Yeah.
I mean, take 2 bites and you're buzzing, man. You got to call a taxi to get home.
Yeah.
2 bites, 2 bites.
Well, Fats always intrigued me. Obviously, he was so sweet, but he always was very shy. It seemed to me.
Yes.
And so he had to balance. Everyone wanted to hug him and see him and sign autographs, and he
Yes.
did it. But he never wanted to speak and say too much.
Yes.
I mean, I took years to get an interview with him, and he finally did.
Yeah.
I told him I really don't want an interview, Fats, and he said, "Oh, you don't want an interview?"
Right, and then he'll do it.
And I said, "No, just give me a tour of your house." No problem.
Right.
But yeah, he was shy. But well, I thought it was pretty courageous and hip of you to do that record.
I owe him so much. There's a thing of the song, a spiritual song, "Oh, how I love Jesus, oh, how I love Jesus, because he first loved me." Right? And that my whole life has been that way when it comes to people like Fats Domino,
Right.
Ruth Brown, Laverne Baker, Dr. John, the list can go on and on. I didn't know these people.
Right.
I did not grow up. They loved me. Fats Domino loved me before I even knew who or what he was. Before I knew anything about him, And he would see me on the morning news as a teenager, as a kid, really. I'd go on with Sally Ann before she was before she was a news anchor in the morning. She had a Saturday show for teenagers. I'd go on and play during the breaks. And Fats saw that. Then I'd come on the news in the morning, and he saw that.
So Fats heard you. You didn't hear Fats.
I did not hear Fats at all.
That's modern life for you. Well, you did the tribute, loving Fats. Is there something from that record you could give us?
Yeah, I think so. That's an instrumental record.
Right.
Yeah, that's something.
I know. I think that's interesting. Well, I mean, Fats was a hell of a piano player.
But he played more piano than you think.
Yeah.
He showed me some boogie woogie stuff that I still can't play. It's kind of, if you can see it, you can't really see it over the radio, but I mean, you guys are here, you're lucky. This pinky thing and this thumb thing, and he'd leave these out.
They're far apart.
And that's all he's doing.
Yeah.
I can't even. I still can't play it to this day with all the piano that I can play. That's crazy. Anyway, let me try to, let me see. Nah. I hear. You made me cry when you said Goodbye, ain't that a shame? My tears felt like rain. Ain't that a shame? You're the one to blame. You broke my heart when you said we're part. Ain't that a shame? My tears felt like rain. Ain't that a shame? You're the one to blame. Yeah, a little bit of it. It had to come. You popping things on me. You know.
And now you did a vocal version.
Yeah, I did a vocal version.
That whole CD is all instrumentals, and amazing. The instrumentals. What do you think you added to Fats? Because it sounds influenced by Fats, but it's you.
Sounds influenced by who now?
No, it's influenced by Fats. The songs are the songs, but it's you. What did you do to?
Well, here's the
make
thing. You have
your
to realize that I didn't record that album for it ever to be released as an album. So that album, now it's an album. It was done for the Steinway Corporation, for the Spirio, the piano that I play, which is a recordable piano, and it's a high definition sort of piano player and recorder. So I've done several, let's call them albums for them. Yeah. When you buy that piano, you can download those performances. You can download me playing in high definition in your living room, Hurowitz. The list goes on and on and on of great piano players that you can download. So when Fats passed away, I called them up and said I'd like to release that because that's all instrumental.
Right.
And they agreed that we should release
That's
it.
an amazing story. I love, the Steinway people in New York at that the hall they've got there. I assume recorded that. Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah. Wow. And you come as a hologram with it? I forget. How do they do it?
Hey, I mean, I've got some powerful stuff happening here.
Hey, and on that note, I got a cup of coffee here for you.
Oh wow, that's a big deal. That's a big. Who's that? Come give me a hug, Rachel. Yeah. Thank you so much. I hope you're vaccinated, girl. If I sneeze tomorrow, we're coming after you, but I'm here. Thank you so much. Now, we're editing all of this out for the radio, right?
Well, some.
Some of it.
Yeah. We'll put a little cream, a little sugar in it.
Yeah.
A little caffeine.
My taste, my style.
Yeah.
Everything.
So what do you?
I want to go over here. You go back over there.
I'll go to the spot you get it.
Yeah.
Come out swinging.
I mean, at least I can walk out and show everybody my outfit, right?
Yeah, I was going to ask you to show the outfit. Yeah, look at that. Sparkly shoes.
The piano, you can't see me.
He's got a cowboy hat.
For you guys.
Yeah, a lot of detail there.
I would have worn my Nikes if I'd have known all of this.
Look at that. There's a history of civilization there on those trousers. Yeah, the hat.
Give everybody a hand, and
Yeah,
Nick
yeah,
also,
yeah.
for
All
having
right.
us here.
Looking good. Yeah, the only man to actually be seen on the radio.
Right.
Yeah, maybe that's the next stage.
Yeah.
Davell Crawford here at the Jazz Museum with Nick Spitzer and you, and we're enjoying ourselves and taking a mild coffee break. We've been talking about the past, and maybe we'll get to the future eventually, but so far the past has been okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for it.
Now don't drink too fast and burn yourself.
No, I'll be fine.
I'm glad you set up your clothing because I was going to ask you about it. I mean, in show business, how do you decide to put together a wardrobe like that with all those spangles, and it almost looks like it could be country, it could be Liberace, it could be Ray Charles.
Right.
It's got a lot of elements going in it.
I just wake up, man.
Yeah.
It's already enough just trying to be me, fixing a cup of coffee, you know what I'm saying? So I just wake up. I have these things, they're in the closet, and I just pick them out. And I think, here's what I think. I think as entertainers and as public people, I've always thought this, we owe you guys something. Look, you came out here on what is it, Tuesday? Thursday? You could tell I'm a retired musician, semi-retired. Huh? So you came out here on a Thursday, and to see somebody like me, and I guess I should put on something for you to see. Come on, think about it.
Yeah.
Like I said, I grew up when entertainers sort of took pride in the whole package, the entire package, and they call me old school, but I like it. Everybody else likes my jackets. You like it too? Thank you. Shout out to Muse Fashions and the people who dress me. Yeah.
Hey, I wonder, do you have a song about clothes and dressing? I mean, in Fats, I was thinking I'm going to be a wheel someday because it's going to get out there and be seen and be important. But I just wondered, anywhere in your vast repertoire of songs, is there one about, the high heel sneakers or looking good in a certain way with clothes? I'm just guessing here. I mean, you stimulated me. I have a whole list of possibilities we could. There.
I'll be dressed in the latest style. I won't even give her a little old smile. Young man rhythm's got a hold on me too. I got the rockin' pneumonia and the boogie woogie.
All right. Touche. There
you go.
Have another sip there.
I need a napkin though.
Uh-oh. I thought we brought one.
Rachel, you get tickets to Snug Harbor Saturday night.
Hey.
You got it. We're gonna get you 2 tickets to Snug Harbor. Rachel's working.
Yeah, well.
Thank you, Rachel. After all, wouldn't want to ruin the jacket I just sang about. I'd be dressed in the latest style. Thank you.
That was a good idea there. So, you were influenced by a lot of people, and you mentioned Sarah Vaughan. I kind of am intrigued. Is that somebody, again, you listened to on record, saw on television?
On record. My first influence on television, as far as singers were concerned, and one of my greatest and still a good friend of mine is Dionne Warwick, because obviously she was on television in the 70s. And Sarah Vaughan came later on. I went to NOCA.
New Orleans Center for the Creative Arts.
Yeah,
there.
a shout out to NOCA. Yeah.
Great arts high school.
And I was one of the few pianists, a few instrumentalists that could sing. And they wanted someone to sing with the trios that they would break us up in, and they would ask me. I'd say, no. So finally, I said, yeah, and they gave me a song to sing, which was Misty. And Clyde Kerr, the late, great educator Clyde Kerr. And he said, bring this record home. It was a record. And I learned this song. Well, I had heard Misty, before, and I brought the record home and listened to it. When I came back the next day and I sang it, he kept saying, gosh, you sound like Sarah Vaughan. It's like, who's Sarah Vaughan? I had heard the voice because my grandmother played Sarah Vaughan consistently, and the people around my home, her friends did. But I didn't put 2 and 2 together in another place, in school. So he played some more music by Sarah Vaughan, and I wouldn't admit. But that night I went home, and my uncle was over at my grandmother's, and I said, I guess I do sound a little bit like her at that time. At that time my voice was higher. And she would hold these notes, and the evening breeze. I can't do it now, but I was in a and I'd say, I guess I do sound a little bit like her. So my first show at Snug Harbor, believe it or not, first 2 shows were tributes to Sarah Vaughan. I had Adonis Rose on drums.
Oh, yeah.
Jason Stewart on bass, and Dwight Fitch, Junior on piano. And I sang all of Sarah Vaughan's stuff. We did all of Sarah Vaughan's.
Yeah.
My first shows at Snug Harbor.
Do you still do ones? Is your vocal range changed enough that you don't? Or
thank God for Sarah Vaughan's vocal range changing 6 times during her career. I could still sing some of it. I can't do the early stuff, but of course I do jazz gigs all of the time. Sometimes I don't even play. I may play 1 or 2 songs, But let's see. You know what I just recorded? Well, I didn't just record, but I recorded. If I dawn is filled with dreams, so many dreams. Which one is mine? One must be right for me. So that's from So Many Stars, right? The star, the dream of all the dreams, when there's a dream for every star. And there are oh so many stars, so many stars. See, you know, jazz is the thing for me that, you know, they wouldn't let me do, you know. Because people said that I was unfocused, you know, and to this very day, I was never unfocused, you know. Y'all asses were unfocused, you know, not me. You know, no, not me. And so with no growth from artists, you know, hence this is where I am today. But they wouldn't allow me to grow. And they wouldn't acknowledge that jazz was my very first. You know, I was sort of forced into being who I am with New Orleans. I'm grateful for it because it's created a great legacy for me. But I was not able to grow. And that's why I stopped recording for many, many, many years.
Well, you have done, though, a lot of sort of, you know, what people sometimes in the jazz world call ballads. You know, these songs that are emotional and very vocally focused, and so seems to me you've mastered that whole realm. You've recorded a fair number of those.
No, I have not.
Well, where am I hearing them from? It seems like
I have no idea. You've got to name some of those things. I have not recorded an actual jazz trio record. At least I've not released one.
Yeah. Maybe I've just heard you places playing.
Oh,
singing
yeah, now
them.
you've heard me do that. Yeah,
yeah.
certainly,
Yeah.
certainly.
Yeah, these days it's hard to know if there's ever been a recording. Is it a download? It's certainly not a CD anymore.
It ain't a CD anymore, yeah.
Where did I hear that?
You know, well, I did. You know what? It's the strangest thing. So I released something just a couple of months ago. No one knows about it because I was just testing that streaming stuff. You know, I'm kind of old school still. But I released. It's a Brazilian song. What is it? Is it Once I Loved? I think it's Once I Loved. Yeah. Once I Loved. Yes, I did. You can find it all on those downloading platforms. But I wasn't able to do anything like that to say that I went to Brazil, you know, for 4 months out of the year. I went to Brazil 4 months out of the year for years. A month at a time. Turn the phone off. A month at a time, you know, and 4 times a year. I was not, the companies wouldn't allow it. They wanted me to continue playing Professor Longhair's music and James Booker's music and music of that. Nothing's wrong with it. But I mean, if Aretha Franklin would have stayed where she was, we would have never had some of those great hits that we know of. If Ray Charles would have stayed, there wouldn't have been no country music from Ray Charles. Right. You know, so it was always a fight for me. If Stevie Wonder. So I just stopped recording. I made a decision to do at a young age that every recording would be different, so that I could have longevity. If they wouldn't let me do what some of the things that I wanted to do, so Let Them Talk was very different from obviously the B3 and Me. Yeah. The B3 and Me was very different from Love Like Yours and Mine, which we recorded at the same session. I said, why don't we do 2 since we in here, you know?
Right.
I already knew, you know, Just Friends was very different from Live in Brazil, and then there's the others, Born with the Funk. So until I was able to do what I wanted to do, which I had not been, I just said, well, let me just do some different stuff.
Well, you're whetting my appetite because I'm thinking about all the great things you did record, as well as the things that you didn't record. You mentioned Let Them Talk. You do a killer version of Something You Got.
Oh, yeah, that song, right? That song is on that album. And it's on my Live in Brazil album that you guys will one day I'll release here. You can only get it in Brazil. And I tied that up on purpose, you know.
Yeah, I still selling albums in Brazil.
Yeah, thank God. No, it's the truth, you know, and you can go platinum in just São Paulo. People don't realize that. Now, that's all I'm telling you, but I'm on my third or fourth pressing of that album. Okay.
So can I bring you back to something you got?
Yeah, I'll play Something You Got. Yeah. Isn't that a nice song? It's a New Orleans thing. Something you've got makes me work all day. Put your hands together. Something you've got. There you go. Makes me bring home the pay. Something you've got, baby. I want to know. Help me sing it, sing my. Oh, I love you so. There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still do that every now and then.
I heard that. We've got the organ here. You think it's a good time to move over, shift the cup?
Well,
So you
I
want to do
guess-
one more song there with the cup on that
I
page?
mean, I'll move over now because if I don't move over now, God knows when it's going to happen.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, we were talking about getting the organ because he did do the Me and the B3, and also he grew up, in the church watching the organ players, learning the stops, making sure he was going to be ready to go when the time came. And so we asked him, could he do it? And the response was, I have to wear my church shoes to do that.
All right.
So the church shoes I see.
That's what we called them back in the
Yeah, well, but I mean, I'm seeing black sparkly shoes. But that's not the issue. The issue is the width of the shoe, right?
Well, it's not really an issue. I mean, I can play with tennis shoes on, but I wanted to wear my Air Jordans today.
I see.
And yeah, they're a little too wide to get.
Okay, so the issue is with the Air Jordans.
And you never really know, actually, here's the thing. You never really know, the pedal board is just like a piano, basically. All pianos are different. You never really know if you're going to have a great pedal board, the spring action, or anything like that. And I don't just walk up on any organ to play. I don't do that. So I have to know the organ. So these were the safest.
Yeah, okay.
You know?
Well, I heard you
And they're pretty, too.
having a nice conversation with the organ, and you kind of checked it out a little bit to make sure things were where you wanted them today.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah. Shout out to the great Sammy Burfett. Sam was Marva Wright, the blues queen. He was a pianist and musician for many, many years. But I grew up in the church watching Sam Burfett play on Sundays. And then I'd come to the clubs, and there he was again playing. And if there was a Hammond there, he'd get off the piano, get on the Hammond. You get on the piano, get on the Hammond, do it together, So I watched him, yeah. And so many great organists. Oh my God, Raymond Miles and Albert Hadley from the Soul Children. The list just went on and on. And then on tour, I saw Jimmy Smith. I was a friend of Jimmy McGriff from a kid. We spent a lot of time together on the road when he'd be at a festival in Europe and I'd be there. So yeah, organ is a great instrument. I don't know what I can do with it these days. I don't practice, but I mean.
Well,
it's
practice.
sitting-
Maybe
it's sitting here.
just practice with us here. We're your friends. Oh,
Oh boy, that's the thing.
yeah, I like that vocal effect you have there too. You're not giving up on getting your voice in there.
I'm trying to figure out all of this out. This is something you just don't jump on all of a sudden. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of like riding a bike. You got to get
Yeah.
back in there and figure out,
Well,
fall a little bit.
You stayed on the bike?
I should book a gig with this thing.
Yeah.
I really, really should.
Yeah. Well, moving them around is often the question. I guess that's why they kind of stay in the church or in the bar in one place.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. So back to the organ. Yeah. What's that?
Just like that one. Can you? Yeah, thanks.
Okay. So maybe give us a little something that comes out of your days in, well, the Baptist or the Catholic Church.
Oh, wow. Let's see if I can. I know the Lord will make a way. Oh, yes, He will. I know the Lord will make a way. Yes, He will. So that's a little bit of that. I don't know. I'm kind of rusty on that. I still know the Lord, but I mean, I'm wondering.
Yes. Do you have a question for me?
No, I'm just trying to figure out. So how long have you been on doing this, Nick, on NPR and all? I do have a question, because it seems like you've always been there.
Well, yeah. Well,
And then you moved here.
well, I came and went. I lived in Louisiana about almost 50 years, on and off.
That's something.
I know I don't look old enough for that.
You sure don't. Give Nick a hand, guys.
American Roots, 25 years of American Roots, and all
And a
things
great
considered
supporter
and all that stuff.
of what we do.
Yeah, well, I'm a folklorist. I worked with African French music, Zydeco.
Yeah.
So that got me going. And little by little, I became a state worker, and then I got sick of it, and I went to Washington and worked at Smithsonian and got involved in radio again. I've been in underground radio as a youth. Rock and roll.
Well, aren't we glad he got sick of it and ended up here for us?
I came
huh?
back.
Yeah.
Back. Okay, enough about me.
Okay.
So it's you and the B3. So if you do something sacred, you also can do all kinds of secular stuff on that organ. I mean, we worked on some things. I think for the Katrina record. I'm thinking you played organ.
I did some things. Oh God, yeah, some secular stuff with Wild Magnolias. I've done B3 work with Dr. John, Ruth Brown, Chuck Carbo as a kid.
Yeah.
The list of B3 work, really, I don't talk about it enough because I don't remember it. You know.
Yeah.
With Doopsie, goes on and on. I did some work as a young kid on early. Now you talk about rap music. I mean, some of the early rap records of New Orleans, I had to be 12, 13, 14 years old. They'd bring me in, and if there was an organ there and Fender Rhodes, and I did some of that work.
Yeah. Backing them up. You did on one of your records, Born with the Funk, you did Drown in My Own Tears.
I sure did.
Yeah.
That's a thing, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a possibility.
Drowning in my own. Oh, for me to do?
Sure, why not?
You think so?
I don't know.
Oh my God.
I don't want to put you on the spot.
Well, you've put me on. I mean, what?
Well, you put me on the
spot.
spot.
Is there. I mean, it's there already. You've placed me on it, so I might as well just stand on it.
Okay.
You know?
Oh, well.
I mean, I don't want to put me on the spot. I mean, gosh.
Okay, I do want to put you on the spot.
How much more
Let's
spot
have
can
full
I be
honesty.
placed on? Let's see how we're going to do this. There's no bands, and you can't do it slow. That slow. It brings a tear from my eye when I begin to realize, cry so much since you've been gone. I guess I'll drown in my own tears. A little church.
Yeah.
Just like a child. Da-da-da. My foolish heart running wild. If you don't think I'll be home soon, I guess I'll drown in my own tears. 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 Drown.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Yeah. I do love that reality that church music can go out into the secular world and the other direction too. You can.
I mean, I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have it any other way. And, you know, they did it with classical music and spiritual music. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
The classical music. You know, you don't study rock and roll or church or gospel or anything first. The foundation, you have to study the foundation, which is classical music. And then there was secular classical music, and obviously there was the other side of classical music, the spiritual side of classical music. So, I mean, from the very beginning, that's what music is all about.
Yeah.
That's not the beginning of music.
No.
That's the beginning of our modern day music.
Yeah. Well,
but that's not the beginning of music.
We assume people were singing way back.
They were singing. They were singing in the Garden of Eden and all of that. The birds were there.
Oh, yeah. I wasn't thinking that far, but
well,
yeah,
I have to think that far.
I take it. Well, and that's why you're
I'm
the guy.
inspired by the birds, you know, and all of the sounds of nature. Yeah, people, just imagine somebody had to hum. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It wasn't all work songs and the blues.
No.
Well, that made me think. You do in your piano from the Vaults Volume 1. You do some blues, Buddy Bolden blues, Make Me Down a Pallet. How would the blues sound good on the organ?
Oh, there was many blues. There's lots of blues on the organ. Yeah. Now, if I can play it on the organ, that's a whole thing. I've done it. There's a new thing with me and Charles Brown, believe it or not.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and Charles Brown's been away for.
He's been gone for a while. That's right.
So there's a thing with I'm on the piano, Charles Brown is on the piano, and they intertwine our solos and our stuff together, and then I'm on the B3, and Sam Burfett's on the B3.
Huh.
Isn't that's on Benny Turner's album? You got to get that. It's a thing, man.
I wish we could have arranged with Charles to,
Well, I mean, I got some powerful prayers. You know what I'm saying? Let's see.
See what happens before the
Let's see the
afternoon's
blues.
over. Wow.
Oh, thank you.
You got a lot going on up there. I can see what you're saying. You have got to make so many adjustments to get your sounds and keep going. And, I mean, that organ's.
It's the king of all the instruments, the
Yeah.
organ, whether it's a pipe or whether it's a B3.
Yeah.
Because you have literally everything here. You've got your flutes here, your woodwinds. Your woodwinds there. You've got your trumpets here, That's actually reeds, too. But you've got your trumpets. And you've got your bass man.
Yeah.
You've got your drummer. And you could have a vibraphone player. You've got everything here.
Yeah. It's like a walking tour you just gave us. I appreciate that.
Oh, no problem.
Yeah. Yeah, and of course you got the right kind of shoes to make it work.
I've got the right kind of shoes
Yeah,
today.
yeah. So, in the time that we've got, would you like to stay on the organ for something else that I have a list, but I keep back calling songs. There's something maybe you want to play.
I think I'm gonna move back over
gonna
here
move
to
back?
this piano. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, obviously that's how I've made my little career. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, sure. Let's give him a little moment here to stand up. Take a sip, and we're talking about coffee here.
Right.
On the radio, you got to check these things out.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
yeah.
Well, they can edit this out, can't they?
Well,
What if I did have a
they
little wine?
could, I suppose, yes. But there's some pretty good things in there that I think I wouldn't want to edit out.
Oh, okay.
So back over here at the piano. Mm-hmm. What comes to mind as you sit back down? And what about the piano? I mean, if you've described the organ as the king of instruments, mm-hmm. and one of your titles in the world of showbiz has been the Prince of the Piano.
That's what they called me. I don't know.
Oh, you didn't call yourself that?
No.
Okay.
Mark Morial did that.
Oh, okay.
Well, actually, it's a crazy thing. It's the Prince of New Orleans.
Oh, okay.
It has nothing to do with the piano.
Okay, well, a publicist wrote that then.
I think it just sort of went over to the piano thing.
Well,
That's okay. I'll take everything.
Actually, the Piano Prince of New Orleans. Yeah, that's how it was done.
I'll take it.
Okay, so the piano. if the organ is king, what's the piano?
Oh. No, you really want me to say that? I mean,
Well, we can take it out if we have to.
For that, you know. All right, I can take it. Let me see. But anyway, we'll do this. So for my first record, right? Let them talk if they want to. Talk don't bother me. I want the whole wide world to know that I love you so. Let them whisper words, for they know not what's between you and I. But I will keep on loving you until the day I die. They're trying to break up our romance, they don't stand a chance. But we've got a love so strong, we'll be together from now on. And idle gossip, it comes from the devil's workshop. But true love can make it stop. But I will keep on loving you until the day I die. For they're envious of everything that we have and everything that we do. But it's wonderful when you love someone it's wonderful when you love somebody and that someone somebody loves you.
Whoa.
Thank you.
Davell Crawford from that
I never do that
1995
song.
record. 1995 record. That had the ballad in it. It had the blues. It had gospel, little country.
Believe. Here's a fun fact, just what you don't know. Many of you don't know. I didn't play that. That's not me on the piano on that song.
Really?
Right. That's crazy, isn't it?
Now, how did that happen?
Well, I was too sleepy. Yeah, here's the thing. I was going to school and making that out. I was attending school, and I was also a choir director. I was also playing gigs, and we went in late at night to record the record. Sam Burfett, I wouldn't do the record without Sam. And Rounder Records told me, no, Davell, you're the piano player. I said, no, I'm not going to record without me recording with Sammy Burfett. Because if I don't do it now, I'll never get a chance to do it. And I know I won't. You won't let me. So that was the bargain. If I could have Sam Burfett, then they could pick the rest of the musicians. Sam Burfett and Wardell, Pops.
Wardell Quazer.
Wardell Quazer, the great Wardell Quazer.
Yeah, they called him the Creole Beethoven.
The Creole Beethoven. I wanted him to do all of my horn arrangements, and I wanted Sam there. Yeah. So we made this deal. If I could have Sam and Wardell, they could get the rhythm section, which was Chris Severin and Herman Ernest on drums. Diane Herman, that was your friend. Well, all of our friends, but she was close to Herman and knew him very well. So, yeah, that's how that song came about. Sam came to me one night in the studio and said, hey, man, you know this tune, Let Them Talk? And he started playing, and I said, no. I said, no, I don't know. He said, well, look, take this cassette home. I want to play it for you, play it for you. So he sat at the piano, he sang it, Let Them Talk, if they want to. And he talked it through and sang it. I went home that night, I put it on, and I just turned it off. I didn't listen to the whole song. The next night we came to the studio, we recorded some more songs, and he said, you ready? I said, for what? We're going to do Let Them Talk. I said, he listened to it. I said, oh, yeah. And that was an untruth. That was not true. And they started, he said, well, come on, let's go play it. I said, well, no. So here's what I did as a kid. I said, no, why don't you go and lay the rhythm section down? You in the rhythm section, do it. I'll play some Hammond on top of it. So that's what they did. He went in and played it with Chris Severin and Herman Ernest. And while they were playing it, I was listening to the chords and everything. And they did it in one take. And after, when they went back to listen to it, I told David and Steve at Ultrasonic Studios, plug up the B3, turn it on. And I would do that at all the sessions. When they'd go back and listen, and I'd play something else. So I put the Hammond on top of it. And I took that track home, and then the next day I came back and tried to sing it. But, at that time, I didn't know what Let Them Talk was about. I didn't know what any of those songs were about. Right. And for me, it's painful listening to some of that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and you mentioned you don't like to do records because, well, you have to hear something from another time that might not be something you want to do now.
Right. I'm sort of like Prince. I've got enough. I built a studio before the hurricane and down in the 9th Ward, and of course I have one now up north. And I've just cataloged myself, cataloged my career and my when I'm going to release some of this stuff. Some things are unfinished. Some things are finished. Some things we lost in the hurricane. Lots of masters I lost in the hurricane. But I don't know. Music business is very different.
I don't think of you as being old enough to have cataloged yourself, whatever that means. I'm not sure what that actually means, cataloging yourself.
Well, it's I made it my business years ago. I stopped touring a long time ago. People, when I say that, people still look at me like I'm crazy. But I do a few nights. I decided to go to Brazil this year. I decided to go to Australia next year. I do a few nights. I went to Paris a few. But I don't tour. Yeah. And I don't think I'm going to do that again until I'm 47. Maybe my 10 years from now, 50, 60, something, to tour night after night after night. I did that as a child. I'm not interested in doing it.
Well, what that says to me is we're lucky that you're here.
Well,
today.
Well, I'm lucky to be here. I'm lucky to be alive. How about that? From the touring and all of that. And some people would argue, but halfway sane, from that world. But here's the thing. When I decided to do that and built the studio, I think any musician that's able, any artist, doesn't have to be music, any creative, if you're blessed and lucky enough to be able to create and to document your process and not sell it off for profit. I was able to do that, and so I have recordings of me for many years
Gotcha.
ago, where whatever I was feeling, however I was feeling at that time, to go in the studio and bring some musicians in and just record. You know, yeah.
Yeah, so and that's the life in the world of the 20th century and just before it. That
Yeah.
everything can be recorded, and of course now everything can not just be recorded; it can be sent all over the place,
Exactly.
instantaneously. So times are changing. You were involved during Katrina with a song I really loved, on the Our New Orleans record. I don't know if you still do it. I thought
don't.
about it. No, We Shall Gather by the River.
I don't.
Don't
But
do
I'll
that
do
one.
it. I'll do it.
Oh.
You asked me if I don't, if I still do it. I don't do it, but I will do it here.
Well, all right.
It's, you know, I want to say this. Gather by the River, that song that I wrote, I recorded that song, this is a crazy thing, before Hurricane Katrina. And the Gospel Soul Children sang the original version of that song. Am I that boring? Just kidding. No. They did the first version of that song, right? And Katrina happened, and right there at Ultrasonic Studios, the masters were lost. And I was away. I left all my keyboards and everything at Ultrasonic Studios, went to Brazil, and planned on coming back to finish that whole recording, and I didn't. So it was just like Dr. John says, it was only befitting that I recorded again and put it on our New Orleans,
Yeah.
You know? So that's how that ended up on that record, 2005.
All right.
Yeah, but it was written before the hurricane.
Gotcha.
Yeah. These are sad songs sometimes, so that's why I stopped doing them. But come on now, you're right, you know. We shall gather at the river with each other, 'cause you're my brother, dip our souls in the water for the healing of each other, and be saved and sanctified, freed from sin to where freedom lies, fly away over the land, because we can, because we can. Louisiana, I love you. For all you've given to me. Promise never forget you as I travel o'er the stormy sea. There's no one more beautiful to me. Green pastures and blue skies and all. I travel the whole wide world over and sing of your beauty and love. Never roam too far away. At the close of the day, but oh, remember me please, oh pray for me when I'm 3,000 miles away. Louisiana, I love you. keeping me so long. Promise never forget you, and I promise to someday come home. And I promise to someday, but oh Lord, come on home. And I promise to someday come home.
Davell Crawford.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us here.
Thank you so much,
Davell
everyone.
Crawford.
Thank you. Thank you.
On
Nick.
American Roots Live at the Jazz Museum in New Orleans.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Body of work. Talk about my body of work, but he is. Give him one more hand.
Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the National Park Service and the New Orleans Jazz National Historical Park, the New Orleans Jazz Museum, thank you for coming out and sharing with us. There's programming every day that we're open, every day that the Jazz Museum is open. You can check with their website, our website, www.nps.gov/jazz, and you can see any program that we have. Thanks again on behalf of the National Park Service and New Orleans Jazz Museum, Mr. Nick Spitzer and Davell Crawford, American Roots. Thank you again. Have a wonderful day.